Petroleum products have become very essential in our daily activities. But in recent months and weeks, the hikes in these prices have caused people asking questions as to whether or not, beyond the geopolitics globally and the cedi dollar rate and generally the economy of the country, there are some issues peculiar to Ghana, which is why at the opening of every window 2 weeks in Ghana, the country sees an increment in the prices of petroleum products. And that's what we want to look at today. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Agenda. My name is Beatrice Adu, and tonight we are going to delve into the components that reflect how much you pay at the filling stations, the gas, the LPGs, and the others that are essential for daily activities. I do have with me on my right side Mr. Moses Asaga. He's a former Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority. He's also a former manager at the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, in Tema. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Yes.
I also do have with us Dr. Riverson Opon. He's also the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies and LPG marketing companies as well. Good evening to you, Doc. Thank you again for joining us.
Good evening.
We'll be joined in studio as well very shortly by Senor Hosi, who is former CEO of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors. And so before he joins us, though, we'll kick the conversation going. And I want to start with you, Dr. Opon. Just help us really understand what's in the price build-up formula, which is why Ghanaians see almost, increases in fuel prices, especially every 2 weeks, because of the kind of system that we have decided to adopt.
All right. Thank you so much once again for having me here. And very good evening to your listeners this evening, and Happy New Year. I think we need to start the education from the fact that it's not intentional by anybody to increase fuel prices. And as it has been in terms of the trend for the past few months, fuel prices increase stems from the formula, like you mentioned, or the program called the pump price statutory levies. I think where it starts from is the SREF price. So if you look at the price build-up, we call the PBU.
The ex-refinery price,
exactly,
meaning from the bulk distributors who import the product.
Exactly. So I always say that from my members, because people feel that my members control the prices and we kind of increase it anyhow you want, or it's MPA who decides to increase. But let's understand that the fuel, or let me say the product from petroleum, the price today or the system today is fully deregulated, unlike several years ago.
I mean, as far back as 2015,
exactly.
July.
Fantastic. I'm happy you know that. So basically, the SREF price, which is the starting point for any thing to be added. There we have the levies, the taxes, and the regulatory margins that are added to it. One thing I can also say today is that the OMC's margin and even the BDC's margin are being flexible today because of competition. So oil marketing companies are being forced to reduce their margin just to be in business. That's another big issue. But today, if you look at the number of, the levies we have in the pump price, it has about 32% of the entire PBU.
As at 2021, the understanding I had was that the price and the levies contributed to about 40%. I don't know whether that got reduced.
I don't know what has changed, but I picked today's window, and this is what I have. That I have the SREF price, and also the regulatory frameworks, and then all the margins and levies on it as 22%. And you realize that my members will be paying between 2 to 5% in the PBU. In the levies and taxes, this is where we have, for me, certain parameters that is due for review. Do we still need what do you call it? The energy sector recovery, debt recovery.
And those are things
that we need to look into that. Yeah,
yes,
but in the meantime, is the SREF, the levies, the taxes, plus any OMC or any LPGMC margin that's added on it.
Okay, so Senor Jose is just walking in, so he'll be joining us very shortly and be answering the same question. But before he gets seated, though, I want to ask you, Mr. Saga, before I come to you, Mr. Saga, you are just going to go into the kind of components that we have. And again, the last time I checked, we had about 12 levies already together, taxes together with the levies. Now, you talked about whether or not what we have are necessary. I'll just run us through really some of those taxes that we're talking about. So we do have energy debt recovery levy, which is something that you just referred to. We do have as well road fund levy. We have energy fund levy, price stabilization and recovery levy, sanitation and pollution levy. We have special petroleum tax. We have bust margin, and I heard you talk about the margins and the fact that the OMC have had to reduce their margins just to be able to stay in business because of competition. And then we have primary distribution margin. These are just among the 12 that I saw that I'm mentioning. So again, I just want you to conclude on that thought you were making in reference to the levies that we're talking about.
Yeah, I believe since we do not have control over some of the parameters like the plat price and also the CD that has escalated for the past 3 years, and it looks like as a country we've lost control of catching up with the CD dollar rate, and that is a very huge contributor to the hike in petroleum prices. One analysis I did on year for the past 5 years, which I will share a copy with you, is right here. You're going to see that there's a real correlation between the increase in the CD inflating and the oil, the pump price.
Yeah.
You see it. It's
that's
just,
the ex-pump price you're referring to.
It is just direct correlation, and that tells you that the city has a very big impact on the prices of pumps, because you see the plat price year on year averagely doesn't change so much.
Yeah.
It's just that some moments within the month because of demand and supply, winter time, those are normal, okay? And when there is, let's say there's a COVID to go down, there's a war somewhere, it hikes up through the years. But on average, year on year, it's actually fairly the same. And realize that the CD is actually impacting it.
And I want to come to Mr. Senor Jose now, who's joined us, and he's also downstream. That's why I want to get to him. And after that, I'll come to you, Mr. Saga, who has basically you've been mostly with the upstream, GMPC, as well as TOR. So I'll come to you.
He was a regulator of the downstream.
Yes. I keep saying that
it was under him we were able to advance the price deregulation policy.
Yes, so
there's a lot of credit to his sleeve.
Yes.
So it's a dawn of the sector as well.
Okay, so I'm coming to you.
I'm an expired dog.
I'm coming to you now, Mr. Jose, because Dr. Opon just tried to break down really the components for us when it comes to the price build-up formula, and I was just mentioning some of the levies and the taxes that we do have. Based on what you know, and of course, you worked with the chamber for bulk oil distributors. Why do you think we are where we are? We just heard Dr. Opon there explaining that if you look at really the global events, yes, we have the geopolitics globally and the CD dollar rate, but the basics necessarily does not change. What's our problem?
So let's get a few things. Let's take possibly the last 6 months. The average change you've had on the plat based on international market price is around negative 1.15%. And at the pump, you've had a numeric average of about 0.59%. FX has an average of about negative 0.3%, 9%. I mean, the issue, let's take the topic again. You said...
how to deal with
breaking free from rising fuel prices. There's nothing to break free from. We must understand the basics well, so we stop overly politicizing basic economics. There's no politician that can control the international market price.
So Eduji is not telling us the truth.
I don't know what Eduji has said.
Eduji is saying that they are going to make sure that we review the systems to make sure petroleum products are cheap for Ghanaians.
Well, it is...
And he's the acting CEO of...
It's not a problem. It's not a problem. He's a very fine lawyer, fine policy person. He was my student. He's good. But you get to know some things quite quickly as you get going about the realities of the market. Now, our prices are benchmarked to the international price. Nobody will sell to you, whether you go to Dangote, you go to Talo, nobody is going to dash you anything. So there's no way politicians can control the international price of fuel. It is driven by demand and supply factors. Ghana is an oil-producing country. You are a very minuscule feature in that mix.
About 18%, right?
18% of what?
What we need.
No, I'm not. I mean, the global market, the global supply market. Ghana is 0 point something, so 0 something somewhere.
Anywhere.
You're not on the map. As far as demand is concerned, you are not on the map. You become on the map when you drive demand, you drive logistics, or you drive supply. We don't drive anything. So as far as we are concerned, we are always going to be price takers. So if you look at the MPA pricing structure, we look at Platts. Platts is an end-of-day benchmark, but end-of-day of active traders within a day. So you are not going to be influencing the world market price. Yep. So let's get that quickly out of the way. Any politician who tells you that he's lying, repeat, say Senior said he's lying. He cannot do Fuku.
So that's what you are indirectly telling them?
No. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm saying that any politician who tells you international market price is going to do it. It's a lie.
Yeah.
I said that before the NDC came in 2012, before the MPP came in 2016. They were also trying to promise similar things. I said it's not true, it's a lie. Yeah. Nobody can control world market prices. It doesn't mean that what Eduji said is wrong. What Eduji is trying to tell you is that he will be seeking to get you optimal prices. That in the face of all the constraints, for the things that we can control, for the policies that we can shape, we make sure that you spend the least possible amount under that circumstance. I agree with the politician who says so. And I know Eduji knows that. He knows that very well. So what he's saying is not that he's going to bring prices that he can't. He's telling you that for prices under his watch, what he seeks to do is that prices will be optimal. Meaning, if it can be 7 cedis, he's going to make sure that it's not 7.1. It's not 8 cedis, it's not 9 cedis. And that's what a politician can do.
How does that come about when you have, I was reading them whilst you were walking in. These taxes that
it's work in progress. So we started with the top line, which is the international market price, which Dr. Pong walked you through. Reversing. It should be acting, though. Or be a priest. That name comes to being a priest and acting, so you have to start one of them.
So please, the point.
So you see, then you come to the next thing. You are buying something in dollars. You convert it into cedis. That's the world market price. There's a whole range of supply chain costs, all right, which are also fixed by the MPA. Like you have to get a mooring fee. It's set by the MPA, approves of it. The question here, if I'm Eduji, is are all these charges or prices that we are putting there, are they optimal? Could they be cheaper? Those are the things that Eduji will do for you. And he's somebody that we all know. He's very passionate about things like that and about people. But the exchange rate has to be controlled. It is the macro economy led by the monetary policy space, led by the BOG, that influences that the most.
And I'll let you
that one again also has other factors. So that's the FX rate. How do you make sure that the oil sector has the most optimal prices as far as FX supply is concerned? If the markets big as it is, they have all kinds of people who need FX to import things. We actually account for about 15 to 18% of our import demand as far as the downstream petroleum sector is concerned. This is a very critical sector. How do we make sure that if there's dollars at 14.1, they don't go to the market and buy it at 14.5? How do we get them to get 14.1? That is optimal pricing. But you can't control whether it is 14.1 as a regulator or it is 14.5. But you can actually influence policy to ensure that you get the best pricing. That is step 2. Then you go to step 3.
And I'll come to you for step 3 because I want Mr. Saga to give us his preliminary thought. I mean, you were at NPA before, and we just heard Mr. Hosi there raining all the praises on you, fixing prices prior to the deregulation of our market or the petroleum sector. What's your understanding, really, of what's happening and whether or not we can break free? Senor says there's no breaking free from anything.
Yes, I think that to begin with, he has already thanked our listeners who have stayed all night trying to listen to us. So I wish them a very good night. But to continue with where we have reached right now, before I became NPA CEO, I think that we were doing a price build-up where there was some bit of subsidy. And anytime the government felt that prices on the international market went haywire, they came in to intervene. But we noticed that that was not sustainable because then debt was piling, the BDCs were bleeding, etc. But since Kwame Nkrumah time up to John Mahama, that was the only time we had to bite the bullet and to tell Ghanaians that the reality on the ground is that you must buy the product at economic pricing. And that is how the deregulation came. So when the deregulation came, as he has said, there's the price build up. And therefore, it depends on the economics of it. And that one, you cannot move away from it. Because, as he said, we have the international price, we have the FX, and we have other levies. I think what governments can do, whether you are a property-owning democracy or you are a social democrat, is to look at which of these levies that you would want to remove, okay? Levies that would not affect you very much. So, for example, if you take the boss margin, for example, I believe that state companies, even though they are supposed to be profitable, even if they made a break-even, it is good enough if you are a social democratic government. You don't have to overly be profitable because those agencies are to serve the people. So why would I want to come and be very profitable as if I'm a private sector?
So if I get you...
Yeah. So if you look at the current balance sheet, you know, and P&L of Bust, for example, they are making huge profits. Now, those profits are actually supposed to go into infrastructure building. So it is an area that a government can intervene. So that if we say that, okay, Boss margin used to be 9%, then Eduji may want to negotiate with Boss and say, can it be, yes, not percentage, 7 pesos? Could we then negotiate for it to be, let's say, 5 pesos? This is where those interventions can come in. And like one time Osafo Mafo said, maybe there are some of the taxes that are nuisance taxes, but also as insiders in the industry and coming all the way from the International Oil Trading Company, including the BDCs, and even some of government. We know what plat is. We know what plat plus must be. We know the kind of premiums that we should have. Therefore, if people are dishonest with the premiums and they come in with premiums that are not acceptable, then definitely the price at the pump would be high.
So, let me get to you correctly. Premiums, you mean the quality of the fuel?
No, it's pricing.
Pricing,
yes.
Okay.
So if you have the plat, like he said, you're supposed to add a certain maybe number of dollars per metric ton. Okay, so that is what the premium is. So you come to NPA and importers, and depending upon who is sitting on the seat of either boss or NPA, or who is the government, you can have hideous premiums. I know about a year ago, when the G4 oil started, whilst I could bring in a product which is flat plus, let's say, $45, I was hearing on the market they were having flat price 60, sometimes 70,
80,
sometimes 80.
Wow.
So who is screaming this? So that is what Eduji is talking about.
Exactly.
Yes. So I think that he can intervene to some extent.
So again, let me get clarity. What you're saying is that our pricing as we have now, the ex-pump pricing,
Yes,
is also as a result of dishonesty on the part of the BDs.
No.
I just want to get clarity.
That's not what he said. I mean, let's put this in proper perspective.
Because
You
I heard him talk about if you were going to get the premium at 45, some are pricing it at 60.
Yes.
An element of dishonesty.
But he's not wrong when he says that. But when you say the prices now at the pump as a result of that, that's wrong. That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
so we are not limiting it to the now, but this is what happens in the system.
Yes, these are some of the things
so
that...
what-
Generic system.
So, we're working through. That's why, and I like the fact that my former regulator actually highlighted the issues about taxes. So the next level is your tax. Also then your premium. Right, so I told you there's a supply chain cost. The supply chain cost is also not fixed. It also is driven by demand and certain shifts in the market. For example, the international market price is $800. Like I said, no politician can influence that in Ghana. So let's forget that. But the vessel that's bringing it here, if we are short on vessels, maybe whereas they would have normally been charging $40, this time around, they'll be charging $60. But there's also absolute instances where people take advantage of the market, where they see that they may be long on products, while others are very short on same products. They maybe have a certain edge in the market, and they shift their premiums much higher than normal. All right? Something like the Good for Oil program should have brought premiums much lower. I don't have the data to confirm whether it did or it didn't. So I repeat, what politicians can do for you is not to bring prices down or take prices necessarily up, but to make prices optimal.
Yeah.
What is the best under the circumstances? The MPA boss hasn't got control over the taxes. That is a matter for central government. He can make appeals for the central government to make considerations. Parliament approves, he will make the necessary adjustments. He influences more his regulatory margins. Are there inefficiencies in those regulatory margins? If there are, he can fix them. So that maybe where somewhere, like he said, is 9, it comes to 2. Where somewhere it's like UPPF is pretty big right now. It's, in my opinion, it's left with so much inefficiency. How do we shift or restructure the industry to achieve that inefficiency? But for us to really think that, and to be fair, the material portion of your pump price is largely driven by the international market, which you don't control, and the state of your exchange rate. The taxes matter, I agree. I think what are you doing now? 327 pesos on premium? Or so 3 cities, 27 pesos on premium. That even includes the regulatory margins minus the OMC and then the dealer margins here. Yeah. So the heart of the entire problem really sits at that global part. If you want to have a stable pricing mechanism, it is possible. With that, as a country, we can go in and buy at the international world market price for a whole year. Yeah. And then you hedge a position against the whole year volume. I've submitted various papers on the idea of holding that if government is worried about fluctuations. But that does not mean that your prices too will be optimal. It means that whereas you may be paying $800 throughout a year, when prices come down to $600, you don't benefit from it. What we have built today is that when prices go to 800, you face the music. When it comes to 200, you benefit from it. It is optimal pricing, and government doesn't get exposed. Prior to us doing this, and I must commend again Moses Asaka for the boldness, and having mentioned that, I have to mention Setekpe, who was one of the key people who supported this fight for us to deregulate. It wasn't easy. I remember, Moses, remember when you said the money, woke up the money on the 50 to see whether there's a looter on the street or not. You know, and I think the president also said a similar thing. It was a hard decision, but that decision made our fiscal books balance. We're losing about $500 million
because of the subsidies.
Yes, unbudgeted subsidies. Get it right. And we have paid dearly for it. All those subsidies could actually have turned around our refinery and wouldn't be importing products. And that, or not importing products also does not mean you get cheaper prices.
Indeed. And we'll be going into the refinery.
Yeah, so just to, he was talking about the logistics.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, for example, he said Ghana was minuscule as far as supply and demand is concerned.
In the global space.
Yes. But of course, for West Africa, apart from Nigeria,
We are the biggest.
we are among the biggest, doing almost $4 billion a year.
So
I'm still coming to the logistics.
Okay.
So what happens is that because of our inability to get the right foreign exchange to be able to buy, most of the BDCs virtually economize. So, for example, a vessel that can take, let's say, 30 to 45,000 metric tons, we would take 10. So if we take 10, they'll still charge you for 40,000. So that adds to your cost. So even though your product is less, your cost is still going to go up because you are going to spread the 40,000 to the 10,000 that you have brought, you know. Then he mentioned another thing. We have BP. BP have very big vessels, and their vessels will always move to Nigeria. The only time they will give some to Ghana is just that, okay, Nigeria is going to take, let's say, 60,000 metric tons. So they will say, oh, Jose Senor has some 5,000. So they will now come and stop around Lomé or something.
And give you the tiny one.
The tiny one. Now that is going to be at a premium. Because for wasting his time to stop, to give you that tiny 5,000, is going to be at a premium.
And I want us
so
to...
that is what he was talking about, logistics. So his idea that if we could buy bigger volumes for storage, then it could help us to some extent. I was just looking at Platt today, and they were quoting $530 per metric ton. But they also gave a caveat that if you were to be importing 200,000 metric tons, then you get a discount on it. But we can't do 200,000 metric tons.
We can't do 200,000 metric tons. And we'll be going into reviving toward that conversation that we've had for months that we've not been able to reach anywhere. But again, I just want to take us back a little bit when it comes to the inefficiencies and the premium. Do I get, and I'm asking you that question, Mr. Hosi, do I get the understanding that there is, although you say you don't have data, there is a seeming fact, as it were, that there are inefficiencies in the system when it comes to the premium pricing, but perhaps NPA is not doing what it has to do to also deal with that part in addition to the other challenges that we have?
I am very clear as a watcher, as a driver of most of the policies that exist in the industry. Big Brother Moses will tell you, I've been at the heart of most of the things. There's too much inefficiency in our price build-up. There's inefficiency in our procurement model. All right? Can we get things cheaper? Can we make it cheaper by optimizing those parts? Yes, that can be done. The only thing we should just be careful about is making promises that have to do with what we don't control, which is the international market price. So today, we can achieve all the efficiency and maybe save consumers 2 cedis or 1 cedi on a liter, which will be 5 cedis on a liter. By next week, prices will shift, and then that savings will be wiped, and you actually have an increase of another 5 cedis. All you need to understand is that the regulator's function and role will be to optimize your pricing position. And I think that's what Eduji is talking about. I don't want anybody to come and put some albatross on my brother's neck, because that's not what I think he would ever be suggesting. Suggesting that he's going to, no. He would be able to achieve for you optimal pricing if he puts the shoulder to the wheel.
Yeah.
That's possible.
And
now,
then to add is always that, you know that the regulator also cannot regulate to a certain extent when it comes to pricing, okay, because it's deregulated. How much a BDC is buying at what premium cannot be regulated.
Yes.
And to be fair, I've seen certain BDCs doing $20 premium, okay? And that's a quantity thing. I mean, unfortunately, in Ghana, we have a system of a poor man will go and buy one tomato every day, whilst a rich man will buy in sets. The rich man is saving much more money in transport
and
time and buying more cheaply. So if you go and buy less, the premium is high. But just don't want to do name and shame today. We know we can get premium at far lower than some that we do today.
So again, MPA is not doing what it has to do.
MPA cannot come in premium, okay? And even if you look at the floor price MPA did, to be fair, they could not add a premium to it. You saw how the BDCs fought it, because you cannot assume what premium
anybody bought from.
And what they did was they averaged it. You can't use average, because I can buy a product today at 20, someone go and buy at 80. I can still sell below the floor price because you use the average. Because if it's 80-20, you are 60 now.
And also not just that. There are a few complexities. The average world market price today will be different from what it is tomorrow.
Certainly.
Yeah. It is different from what it was yesterday. So if I bought mine last week, all right, having sold it, and mine was at $500. Today is at $560, for example. We are all on the same market. You have bought yours at $560. I have bought mine at $500. Nobody is planning to cheat. Yeah. The truth of the matter is that there's too much competitiveness at the BDC level for anybody, and the OMC level as well, for anybody to want to think that there's an effort to rather loot the state, or to loot the consumers as far as pricing is concerned. Right. The other ways that consumers are cheated, and I support consumers on. And at the right time, we should have a proper conversation.
No, I mean, you can mention
that's why the 10-liter can is there. People adjust the pumps wrongly and all that. And there are a few more things. So we should have a proper session. Yeah, on that. And I think with that one, you should bring in COPEC. Yeah. I mean, as well in that conversation. We have over 40 BDCs. Everybody is looking for everybody's market to get. All right? So nobody really wants to necessarily sell high and cheat anybody. The BDCs don't come together to set a price. Everybody wants the next person's customer. So if you agree to do some common pricing today, the person who has low market share will say, you want me to do so that you maintain your market share. He will go and undercut you. So there's rather pricing efficiency also at the BDC level. Yeah. Also because you have excessive competitiveness. But it also feeds back into what Mr. Asaga was saying, that you have too many people, too many village champions, and they cannot go in and trade big, so their cost of operating is high. Yeah. Collectively, those are inefficiencies that the MPA can correct by revising or reviewing the licensing and operating regime. So those are the kind of things that, as a regulator, Eduji is telling us. You know, there was a time, and Mr. Saka was a victim to it, when they were coming in 2009, right? And then Atta Mills had promised a certain drastic drop in petroleum prices. All right? Because I think he had some taxes in mind to take out. He was well intended. What he had forgotten was that politicians don't control the international world market price. By the time that they got in to drop those taxes, world market prices had shot back up. So the dropping could not compensate for the rising.
Counterproductive.
It became counterproductive. Then the MPP lashed on it to start attacking them. That's why I said these politicians and then the conversation around petroleum prices, let's now start having an honest conversation. So, that's why you need the likes of Moses Asaga, who understand the matter. Here having honest conversations, like he has actually told you. Yeah. You can't control the international market price, but you 100%. Can optimize every really cost chain, all the variables that are affecting every other cost, like FX, like industry inefficiencies, regulatory overprice, margin overpricing, taxes and levies, revision and rationalization. Those are the things you can do.
And I will let you continue. I'll come to
As a
you,
government.
Mr. Asaga, very shortly. But I realized, Dr. Pond, that you wanted to make a point, and I'll come to Mr. Asaga on the way forward.
So you know, my brother is sitting here fighting for the BDCs. The OMC side is worse. And you are here talking about 10-liter can. You have not seen anything. Very soon we'll give you 2-liter can for 10 liters. I'm telling you, because today you have 45 OMCs, right? So BDCs. The OMCs are more than 200 today.
Yes.
More than 200. How do we have effective market in terms of play? Now, everybody wants to cut corner. Everybody wants to do something to make money. And if you study the pricing regime for the past 5 years, you realize that everything else on the pump price has increased except the margin of the OMCs. Because
and the dealers.
And the dealers. Because then your neighbor is selling at 12 cedis, you can sell at 13 cedis. Even though your price build up and your margin should be at 13 cedis. That OMC might have gotten his product from a cheaper place, or a BDC who got a cheaper store. Then you got yours at a higher rate. But you'll be forced to reduce your margin to sell it. And that's when the 10-liter can issue come in. Then they'll undersell to you.
So just for the sake of those who may not understand what OMC we are talking about.
Or marketing company, or what you call filling station.
So filling station, where you go to get your fuel.
We are also not adding.
Correct that part about filling stations. The filling station companies, because the filling stations, that's what I said. They are like, how many are they? 2,500 or so, or 3,000, 4,000 now.
Yes.
Across the country.
Yeah. So now we have operation issues also, you know, and I'm happy Mr. Asaga mentioned it, because my members could also get their margins a bit lower when there were not so much inefficiency in operations. Let me give one example. That thing that we call zonalization today is costing me so much. Where members need to pick fuel from certain areas. This week we've had issue with Western Region and Bupe. Imagine an OMC will hire a tanker driver, because some of them are using third parties, right? Even if it's your own tanker as an OMC, it's a separate business. You let the driver go on empty tank, go to Bupe to get product to your nearby station, or even Western Region here, only to get there to know that there's no fuel. It will take several days for MPO to give us the waiver to now come to Tema. They will drive that car to Tema, and now for the car here to Takrade. Look at this inefficiency. So
the system is not efficient, no transparency.
I mean, there's room for, let's be also, we are not saying that previous governments or regulators have not done anything. Everybody has done something. There's always room for improvement.
No, Sonia, I'm not saying that. Just before he.
Oh no, I'm not saying that.
I think we are looking at
how to improve what we have. Yes,
because if those inefficiencies are taken care of, it will just be fair that I didn't waste that money. Let me bring my margin down.
So let's look at what people think that really is the long-term solution to this. We've had a conversation, and I'm coming to you, Mr. Saga, about the need to revive toll. We've had that conversation over and again. And I believe as at now, it has a capacity of 45,000 barrels per day. Am I right? And yet, last year, at the same time that we're having this conversation, we had...
The operating capacity, I think, is about 25 or
25, but installed is 45,000.
Even 60.
Even 60,000 up to that point. Exactly. Now, whilst we're having this conversation, last year we had the information that a Chinese company, Sentio, had been given the approval. In fact, it started operations in January to refine oil, also within Tema. Admittedly, the capacities are not the same, but I'm wondering what you think of it. I mean, with this conversation to revive our own for long-term, oil production and refining of our oil, and yet we have a foreign company coming in and getting the opportunity to do this.
Yes, I think the foreign company had the opportunity because there were fertile grounds and there was space. At the time that the Tema Oil Refinery was operating under John Mahama's NDC, nobody could really come to say that I'm coming to build a refinery. But from 2017, when the refinery was temporarily shut down, then it gave the space. And that is how Central came in, to make sure that the 40,000 that we couldn't get from our refinery, they will be able to replace it and produce it. And that's how Centio came in. Right now, because Centio was operating, because I don't think in the last 3 months, they have not been able to operate. We don't know the reasons for...
The reasons are correct.
No crude oil to refine.
Yes.
Simple.
Yes, but there's crude oil in the market.
So you see,
Yes.
exactly.
There's crude oil in the market. This was the same reasons they were attestating to TOR and saying that TOR, because it was a state organization, is inefficient, management problems, corruption, and the rest. Now it's a private company. And they are also saying no crude oil. So why no crude oil? I mean, light crude oil is just in
There's
Nigeria.
oil along the coast in our as my abundance.
Yes.
Crude has never been a problem for TOR or for anybody.
So is there a cartel involved in ensuring
There's no
that
cartel anywhere. You know, we are just not honest about basic economic issues. The petroleum sector has never suffered shortage of real fuel. Fuel exists. We don't have a global war where they have bombed all the... We don't have any problem like that. The problem is simple. Money in our hand. I won't say the
products
rest.
in hand?
Is a product in the ground. Money in our hand, product in the ground. Money is the problem. If you don't fix the economics of your operation properly, you can't continue to operate. There are refineries in Europe that are closing down because it has become economically not sustainable to operate. There are a lot more refineries in Nigeria. I've forgotten the last count, 25 or something. I've forgotten the number. I mean, a lot of refineries in Nigeria. They were not operating. Dangote has come, it is operating. It will operate to the extent that it makes its operation economically sustainable. There's an economics to running a refinery.
Absolutely.
It must be tied to the commercial sustainability of the general business. It is not an emotional thing. It's not.
So, you see, Senor,
and it also does not mean that when you produce or refine in your country, your products will be cheaper. No. Your products may even be more expensive.
Exactly. So, Senor, let's call the statement you just made that money in the hand, product in the ground.
Yes.
So that it doesn't look like they don't have money to buy the fuel now. The crude oil now. Right.
So what's the problem with
my brother, that is the summary of the matter. I won't go left or right. I don't know how to do that one.
Yeah,
no,
but
if they have money...
Because you see, where you ended the topic is amazing. Because you see, when you bring a barrel of crude oil today and refine, what is the cost component of refining it? And the end product, does it meet the pricing scheme as compared to even importing? That's a question mark. So I totally agree with you that you can even have a refinery in your country, but the economics or the cost of refining a liter of diesel might even be higher than imported.
So, you are right. So again, still, if you give anybody money today to give you crude, everybody will bring you crude. Yeah. There's crude moving. There are too many vessels leaving Nigeria. There are vessels leaving Ghana. The Ghana crude is refinable in Ghana.
You talk about...
It's in TOR. And I'm sure, because it's all like crude, I'm pretty sure that the economists will also work for Centio.
Yes,
the problem is their money. And the reason why TOR is not getting money is that when you give TOR 100, the 100 doesn't come back. It means that the economics in their operation, there is a problem.
All right, so we are looking at the long-term solution to this and how to ensure that we are able to have because we have oil. We should be able to get it and refine it and at least make money so we reduce the imports.
I beg you in the name of God. I repeat, and let me speak to the people. The fact that you refine in your country does not mean your prices will be cheaper.
Yes, but
let's understand that matter. Let me explain something. First is the raw material, which is crude. It is indexed to the international market. You have to buy it commercially, even if you are producing it yourself. Otherwise, it means you are cheating yourself. There are two different books. Your farm business and your kitchen operation are not the same. The only thing you save refining yourself is the refining margin, which is not big. Now, that refining margin, if you don't have a net positive, you are making a loss. If you have a net positive, it's even further small. The shift to it is very small.
Which has been the problem
if you
of
take
Thor.
crude from tallow, you have to pay them the money. That crude, $1 you pay them, they will have to take it outside.
So let me land. I'll let you come in. I'll let you come in.
But, even though he has said
Yeah.
what he has just said, but I think that crude movement is logistical.
Yes.
It involves transportation.
Yes.
And that
so
also
from Tallow to Ghana or
It's shorter. I'm going to.
I think that is where
I'll come to you.
I think so. At least there'll be savings.
I agree.
On transportation.
Correct.
I agree.
Thank you so much.
And then,
That's
so
what
what, but what I'm going to say, you ask us what is the future. I think economics of scale is very important. If Central is doing 40,000, they said they can even go to 100,000 barrels. But they don't have all the infrastructure. Here is Tema Oil Refinery that probably have almost some of the infrastructure. Why not we have a partnership where both are strategic investors to one another, and then we'll prompt up the economies of scale. Yeah. And then, look, if sometimes when you are going to Central, you think you are rather going into tour.
In fact, and
because
that's
the
where,
two are not separable.
and that's where I was going.
And I think that is what government should now be looking at.
So we have just a few minutes to wrap up. I'll let you come in. I will let you come in. I know you will just continue with it.
I can't forget. So let me see.
You will continue with it.
No.
You will continue with it. But I'm just saying that.
No, because you see,
we are running out of time.
It's an amazing point. He just picked the words out of my mouth because you see, assuming that the Ghana concession of Tallow or the Jubilee field, what is 13.3 something percent, was refined here, and Thor was revamped to solve Senior's problem. Okay, revamp means re-engineered to be able to be cost effective. Now that premium we have will be saved. Because
and that's the point I was making, because already, Ms. Hausi, I'll come to you. Already, we know that last year we had the ex-president go to Jomoro to say that actually to commission the petroleum hub, a project that is supposed to be between like the time he commissioned it and 2030. And then you are talking about the Tor revival, and of course the cedi dollar rate. So I'm just wondering, within all these, how do we ensure that it's realistic enough for us to keep petrol prices at where we believe or Ghanaians will feel comfortable with? Because as we speak, in Nigeria, it's less than $1. I'm talking about current gasoline prices in selected countries.
Nigerian gasoline is partially subsidized. They say it's not subsidized. It's partially subsidized.
Algeria, of course, we
like
know
it used to be,
less than $1. Libya, 0.03. We can't compare, of course. So that's why I'm bringing in these things that will help us
they have
domestically.
the crude.
Not just that. They also subsidy. No.
And they have strong refineries.
They have strong subsidy policies. We are not the same. Every refinery, anytime you are trading with your clients, you have to make two decisions, a make or buy decision. We have what we call import parity pricing. Yeah. Import parity pricing suggests that the prices at the pump should reflect imports. So if your local production is cheaper, you will naturally have a competitive advantage or a comparative advantage. The truth is, local production has not been cheaper because there are inefficiencies in that structure. As to whether a merger between Tor and Central is the way forward or not, that is a different conversation.
Do you think it is the way forward?
I don't think so.
I
don't think so.
But you are also smiling.
Hold on, let me put this way.
It
is an idea that can be explored. But where I sit with the little data I have and also looking at the general economy, political economy as well, and dynamics, I don't see it being
You're
practical.
also smiling when I mentioned the petroleum hub.
You know, look, I am, and I don't think I'm wrong on this. I'm the foremost proponent of the concept of a petroleum hub, and that was in 2014 or so at the first GIPCON. All right, and I contributed. Every government, when they are in opposition, they consult me when they are writing their manifesto. every one of them, when they are in opposition, they consult me when they are writing their manifesto. The MPP consulted me. They came to visit me in my office. I said, my ideas that they are for Ghana. Anybody who wants it, you take it. And there were no ideas that I hadn't shared already with the NDC while I was being an advisory member.
So they didn't implement what you shared.
I mean, they took it, they wrote it inside their thing. My idea was not what they are looking at because the capital required for it. And also the economics don't easily make sense in contemporary times with all the steps that are going on. But it is feasible for us to look at Ghana as a country, as a hub, because we are very long on a lot of petroleum infrastructure, especially storage facilities. So you face your action. You start by creating a redistribution hub. How do we get our current operations efficient and create proper trade routes out of Ghana? You haven't done that. People talk about the Sahelian market. I say you're a joke.
I'll be glad
Combine
if you
all of them together.
so
The opportunity is not even half of Ghana.
Senor, you see, these inefficiencies that we saw in Tor, how this inefficiencies not be reflected in the same policy that you want to
No,
raise?
you see, their concept, I said that doing a hub is not out of place.
In 20 seconds, then I'll give the final word to
so
Dr.
I think,
Okon and Mr. Saga.
Okay.
My parting words on the matter is that we should just be open and straightforward about this. Yeah. International prices cannot be controlled by any politician. I think there's consensus on the table about that. But the pricing structure can be optimized. In my opinion, we are always going to have that exposure, which is actually the biggest ticket in your pricing, the international market price. So what we should be rather looking at is not petroleum prices. It's what petroleum is for. It's for transportation. It's for energy. How do we create more efficient ways of being transported from point A to point B? Those interventions are the ones that will have a direct impact on loosening the impact of petroleum prices on consumers. If you chase prices, you can save some 10 pesos today in doing what you control.
And the next day you are paying more.
But get a rail from Adenta straight to Accra, Tema, straight to Kaswa, another one, exchange point to Circle.
Dr. Okon, please, in like 30 seconds. In like 30 seconds now, come to Mr. Saga.
I'm practically happy that this preaching got into politicians. And that's why last year during the campaign, no politician is on record that was able to preach that when it comes to reduce petroleum prices. I think that was clear and they knew it. There are inefficiencies in the downstream that, believe me, if we're able to solve today, we will be able to cater for certain losses. First of all, like Sonia said, we need to reduce the number.
Seconds, please.
We need to reduce the number of players in the industry, those who are causing us. The number of OBDs are too many. They're not making enough revenue to even pay. 100%. Yeah, to even pay their
OMCs are too many.
The OMCs are too many. So let's look at that inefficiencies. Some of the margins and that we can take out. Please, let's do it.
Mr. Saga,
right.
Yes,
you earlier talked about taxes as well. Your final word in 30 seconds.
Yes, but my final word is more on the infrastructure. We know that pipeline infrastructure is very important, efficient, and can reduce costs. And cheaper. So I'm thinking that BOST should use some of its resources to be able to construct the Accra-Kumasi pipeline and then the Bupe one. So that instead of these huge trucks moving every day, which is even creating problems for our roads, then in terms of the economies of scale, I think that the new Minister for Energy and then Eduji and the Tema Oil Refinery, they should find a way that we can have a partnership between Tema Oil Refinery and Central to improve the economies of scale.
We'll have to end it here. We'll have to end it here. No, our time is up. I'm sorry, gentlemen.
Just 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Our time is up.
10 seconds. We have been blessed with new leadership. I want to actually call on the entire industry. Let's put our energies together to help the leadership work.
All right.
We have a leadership with an open mind, seeking to reset the industry.
We'll have to end it here.
Put your thoughts on proper paper and proper engagement, and let's advance the industry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Senyo Hosi, former CEO of Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors. Also, we've had Moses Asaga, former CEO of the National Petroleum Authority, also former manager at Ghana National Petroleum Commission, GNPC Intema, who actually had to make a trip from the north to Accra earlier just to be able to join us deal with this issue today. And also Dr. Riverson Opong, the Chief Executive Officer of Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies and LPG Marketing Companies. Thank you all, gentlemen, for joining us tonight on Agenda. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming up next is Ghana Tonight. Join us again next week.